It's a new year and the Altenew 2025 January release is available. Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel and this release is jam-packed with stamps, dies, stencils, and more, all featuring sweets, florals, love sentiments, kindness sentiments, and so much more. But the best part is this video is part of the Altenew January release video hop. So stay tuned to the end of the video to see how to enter to win. I've got tons to share with you today, so let's dive right into the card making and I'll let you know what new products I'm using as we go. First, let's take a look at the Build a Garden set. This month, it's called Flowering Quints. You can see the large 6x8 stamp set there. There's stencil set to color in all of the images. It's pretty cool that you get a bunch of different stencils that will color in all 3 different images. And here's the add-on die set. You can see you can cut out all the images and some of those sentiments as well. And then you get a small blending brush along with the subscription. So I basically cut out an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock in half, and I've stamped all 3 of the images so that I can stencil them all and then decide how I'll use them on cards. So I just want to show you real quickly how easy it is to line these up. And if you just have a few colors of ink, you can really color them in quite easily. Now, if you don't want to do stenciling, if you'd rather do alcohol marker coloring, of course, these are outline stamps, so you can do that. You could also do watercoloring. I don't have real skills in either of those, so I love having layering stencils. These are my favorite, and the Altenew layering stencils really make realistic coloring for these images come to life very easily by doing ink blending. So now here I'm on the largest image, and I do die cut them before I stencil them. This way they fit better on my stamp wheel here. Now I do have the stamp wheel 2.0, so there is a larger platform there, but I still feel like it's easier to maneuver them after they've been die cut. And this way it also helps line up the stencil a lot easier as well. So now I'm stamping a couple of the sentiments and sub-sentiments from that 6x8 stamp set. So let's put together this first card. I have a white piece of cardstock that I've cut down to 4 by 5.5. So the margins are just on the sides. I have some Altenew dimensional foam tape, which I'll use to pop up the sentiment, and I'll place that first down at the bottom of the card, a little bit off to the right. And then I have this fun image of the quince fruit to work with. I've never tried quince, but I am really interested now that I looked it up, and they say it's kind of a mix between apple and pear, a little tart flavoring. These are the new pearl dots. I have several colors. I have coral, I have blush, and I have light gold. They do come in a few other colors as well, which you can find on Altenew's site. So I'll be using these throughout the video on different cards. And here, I love the way that coral ended up matching with the flower that I did stencil in there. For this next card, I'll be using the large floral image, which you can see there at the left. I have some of this gold washi tape from Altenew. It's really great to use as a border or to create a mat with if you don't have gold metallic cardstock for any reason. I did put a little adhesive there on the back because I wanted those bottoms to stay wrapped around, and sometimes washi, because it's removable, will come up a little bit. So I have the dimensional foam adhesive behind the large floral image, and I'm just trying to decide how much of it I want on the card. Then I'll flip it over and trim off the excess. Anything that's hanging off the side there will just get trimmed with my scissors, and then it will fit perfectly to my A2 card. Next, I'll add the sentiment and sub-sentiment. Those are popped up on foam adhesive as well. And for a little bit of embellishment, the light gold pearl dots. Those are so pretty and they're so dimensional and shiny. They really add a nice touch. Next, let's take a look at the Sugar Rush stencils and dies. This is a layering stencil set. There are several stencils, and there is a large die. It's one die that will cut out several of these candies in groupings. So they don't cut them out all individually. Some of them are grouped together. So first, let's try out the stencil. Again, I have an A2 piece of white cardstock here, and I've placed the first stencil right on top. And you can see I'm using some fun, bright colors. And on the right hand, I have that guide that comes with the stencils. Just gives you an idea of maybe what you might want to use. Now you can see I've changed things up a little bit. Instead of green, I used mint, but things like that. But you can just get an idea of what you are actually coloring in, because sometimes it's hard to tell just looking at a stencil. This is the Sweet Signages stamps and dies. This is a really fun set where you can create some fun signs that say different things, and then there are images as well. And then there's a small die set that you can cut out some of these images with. So I like the different birthday, cupcake, and cake. There's hugs as a sentiment. And here's the tiny die set. It's just got the large circle, that kind of scalloped circle, and then the smaller circle, so that you can pop those up if you want, if you don't want to stamp them all together. So first I'm stamping that ring. Now the ring you can stamp in a lighter color like I've done here, so that you can stamp the sentiment right on top and you'll be able to read that sentiment. And then for the birthday cake, I stamped that separately. I'm going to cut both of those out because I do want to pop them up. I cut my candy image panel down to 4 by 5.25 and matted it on some Altenew cardstock. If you haven't checked out all the gorgeous colors of Altenew cardstock yet, I highly recommend it. They really do match with their inks very well. So if there's an ink color of Altenew that you love, you'll probably be able to find a really great match in their cardstock. So I just popped that signage up right on top. For this card, let's use the die as well. Instead of just stenciling, I'll use the die to cut it out. And as I said, you can see that some of these candies are grouped together. So for the Sweet Signages, this time I am using that little scallop circle. It's got kind of like a ribbon through the center where you would stamp the sentiment. So I'm actually making the look of a ribbon by cutting a piece of cardstock to match that ink. And then I'll place it down on my white panel and just pop up that hugs on top. Now I'm taking the candies, and I did cut some of these apart just because I didn't want a huge swath of them all together. I wanted little bits and pieces so that I could scatter them around the card to create just a totally different look than the last card. This is the Tasty Treasures stamps, dies, and stencils. And the stencils also have some of the masks in there, and I will use it as I am stenciling. So I'm stamping out all 3 of the glass jars, and then I have one of the stencils on top of the glass jar, and I've placed the mask on the middle stencil there. This way I don't get ink on that other image. So I'm using light hand and light colors to color in these glass jars. So each of them has a different hue to it, and they will each look still like glass because of how light I've colored them in. Now I'll use the dies to cut them out. The stamp set also has different candies that you can use to stamp and color in, and then die cut out, and you can place them inside those glass jars. I've cut a white piece of cardstock down to 4 by 5.25, and I'm using one of those Altenew cardstocks in the background there. I'll pop up each of the glass jars. I have the smallest one in the center, and then I'll start adhering the candies inside. You can tell which ones fit which glass jars. It's pretty easy to tell. And I've colored those in just with the alcohol markers, and then added a sweet hello sentiment and some glitter tape to the top just for a little bit of shine on this card. This next set is called the Sweet Sugar Cookies Layering Die Set. Again, there's always a guide that tells you exactly which pieces go together so that you can layer them up. So the leaves is the one that has 3 different pieces. The other ones I've cut out of different colors of Altenew cardstock, and I've cut all of the top layers out of white because it to me looks like sugar cookies with a colored icing and then the piped white icing on top to create the detail, which is really fun. I'm using another sentiment from the Build a Garden set that I shared in the beginning of the video and one of the sub-sentiments as well. And I've stamped that on an A2 card that I've placed horizontally, and I'm lining up all of my little sugar cookies in a row underneath that. Now, the blue one I had a little too far in, so I decided to trim that side down and then trim the top down a little bit so it'll be 4 by 5 1/4 horizontally as well, and then place that on a pink cardstock background that matches that pink sugar cookie. A really clean and simple card, came together really easily, but I absolutely love how it turned out. This is the Sweet Nasturtium Layering Die Set. I love this set because it is a smaller set. There's not tons, but there are the keyhole system for the flower, for the nasturtium, and then the little macaroons on the side are pretty easy to put together. But the keyhole, I love the keyhole die sets because for me, looking at flowers, I don't really know how to layer up petals to make them look good. So having that keyhole, which is basically a cutout in the center of each of the pieces, and then there's a flower center that you pop right on top that fits right on top of that keyhole system. So just makes it really easy to know where you're supposed to layer things up. And then if you have trouble, you can always look at the guides. They will tell you pretty much exactly and show you in colorful images as well how to adhere everything together. So for this one, I've used one of the stamps from that Build a Garden set again. I love that beautiful with kindness sentiment. It's just so pretty. And then the sub-sentiment says sending big hugs your way. And I'm basically just stuffing in leaves behind that nasturtium and then stacking up those little macaroons. And I just love, again, how easy it is to make a card with die cutting like that. This is the Houseplants Layering Die Set. Again, there's a guide, shows you exactly what to layer on top of each other. This is not the kind of set that has a keyhole because the layering is very simple. So basically, for these flowers, you can cut them out twice and layer the petals on top of each other, and then there's a few flower centers as well. So you decide how you want the flowers to look, what color you want, and then for the planter, it shows you on the guide how you can layer up colors to make it look like a dimensional planter with dirt inside. Now, for the vines or hanging leaves, you can basically do whatever you want to do. Just go to town and have a bunch of hanging leaves or vines from your planter. I think the more the merrier. I've cut out a few different colors of green because, like I mentioned, the Altenew cardstock is just, it's divine. So you definitely want to grab some of that if you want to do a lot of layering die cuts like this. Now I've cut a piece of white cardstock down to 4 by 5 1/4, and I have my planter popped up on top of that white cardstock, and you can see the hanger and the hugs is both in that shiny gold cardstock. This is the Bold Blooms die set, another die set, I know, but this is not really a layering die set. There are a couple of layers. So there's an outline, and then there's that base. So what I'm doing here is I've cut out the outline in white and the base in white as well. And I'm adhering down the outline to the base with just some little bit of liquid adhesive. Then I take some of the micro blending brushes and I'm adding color to the leaves and to the flowers. And I'm not worrying about whether I'm getting it on top of that white outline because I'm going to cover that up anyway. So next I cut out the same outline out of gold like mirror cardstock, and I'm adding some liquid adhesive behind that, and then I'll just place it right on top of the white outline that I already created, and it just gives a really pretty look, which is very easy to achieve because it's just messy ink blending and you're really not having to worry about where you're getting what color. Next, I used one of those sentiments once again from the Build a Garden stamp set, and I'll stamp it and die cut it and then pop it up. And then finally, I did add some of the blush pearl dots to this one. I love them in the centers of the flower and on the petals as well. Thanks for making it through all those cards. I had a blast designing with this release. But now for the video hop information and giveaways. Altenew is giving away $300 worth of prizes. So all you need to do to enter this video hop giveaway is comment down below. I'd love for you to let me know what your favorite was from this month's release. All the other details about the hop and giveaway will be in the YouTube description box under this video. As always, I want to thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon.